Alright, for the main purpose question, the goal is to identify the main idea. And in addition to that, the sentences and the choices also have the verbs in the beginning. For example, is it to describe or is it to introduce or just to summarize? So the most important thing is still the meaningful description, which means we have to read the passage and understand the main idea. Alright, so this passage is a speech addressing the coal miners picketing, which means protesting. And then if we look at the structure of this passage, we can see there is this metaphor of dogs and how people treat the dogs, especially the owners and the owners' wives. The second part of this passage is rather straightforward. It's mainly about the fact that the coal miners have suffered. So let's just try to figure out why there is this long description about the dogs. Mainly, Mother Jones was just comparing the miners to the dogs of the owners. As you can see, it's established here. And the point is that the dogs are treated very well. Another sentence shows this example here. The miners' owners' wives might treat the dogs so dearly. And that's why when we see this part of the sentence, we can connect to the ways the coal miners are treated. So when she said the day for petting dogs is gone, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't have pets. It just means that the mine owners treating dogs better than humans, the coal miners, is wrong, and she wants to end this kind of mistreatment. That's why the following part of the sentence says, it's time to make people have a better living quality. So just to recap, the first part is the coal miners being compared to the dogs, and they're actually treated worse than the dogs. And the middle part is her way of focusing on the change she expected. And the last part is just explaining how she was able to relate to the coal miners because she also suffered. So if we want to be very brief, this is the mistreatment. This is the suffering. And let's look at the choices. The idea is consolation for the mine workers. We know the target audience is the mine workers, but the passage is not showing any consolation. It's probably trying to make the coal miners aware that they are treated very badly. So the consolation is not correct. Second choice, to point out one of the adversaries faced by the miners. So it is true that the owners are the adversaries, but also the focus or the topic is not the mine owners. It's more about how badly the miners were being treated. So this part is not really the topic of this passage. Let's have a look at the next choice. To illustrate that some mine owners can be compassionate. It is true based on how they treat the dogs. But as we can see, we already established that that's just a contrast between the mistreatment of coal miners and the way they treated their pets. So we know the purpose is not to show their compassion, it's to contrast with how inhumanely they treat the coal miners. So first of all, it doesn't touch upon the main idea of the entire passage. Second of all, it's just a specific detail serving as a contrast. Alright, so the correct choice is this, to emphasize the sordid conditions of the mine workers. Sordid means very bad, and we can sense the conditions are the topic, the main focus of this passage, because Mother Jones used her own experience to say that she also suffered. And the first part of the passage shows that the dogs were treated better than the miners. So this tracks. And there you go.